What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the H Panel, the show where I bring on guests from all different backgrounds to talk all the things mental health. I'm your host, Harry Potvin, and today I have the pleasure of being joined by Steffi, the Superfood Goddess. Steffi is a health and wellness coach who focuses on living a healthy lifestyle around food, exercise, and mental health. Steffi was so fun to talk to, and I wanted to thank her again for coming on and having this discussion with me. If you are listening from Ontario, Canada, you are well aware that we are going into our third lockdown. I know this is a very stressful time for a lot of us because, the things that we use as stress outlets are once again being taken away. Honestly, I could go on forever about how annoyed I am, but I really don't want to. So I'll just leave this intro with this. If you are listening right now, please reach out to your friends and family. Let them know how much you love them. Let them know that you're there for them, but also make sure that your mental health is being taken care of. This is a very draining year for a lot of us, and it's incredibly frustrating. So just make sure you're looking out for your friends and family, but also primarily yourself. It's important. And also, if you really don't have another outlet or nobody to reach out to, shoot me a DM, man. My Instagram is in the link down below. I'll be more than happy to listen to you and talk. I love talking to people, so please don't hesitate to reach out. And my hope, and a lot of people's hope, is that, once these 4 weeks of lockdown are done, maybe, the end is near. Hopefully we can go out again safely, of course. Hopefully we get out of this safe and healthy. Yeah, that's all I really want to say about the topic, to be honest. Now, before we get into this episode, guys, please like, comment, share, subscribe, give 5 stars if you're on a podcast platform. Share with someone who might need to hear this episode. It's a really great one, and I cannot wait for you guys to listen. Also, if you guys didn't listen to the episode with Diana, we are actually now sponsored. Woo! Awesome. By the people over at yourmd.ca. Before this episode gets started, I'm going to talk to Sean Kanungo, a member of YourMD, to give us a little more info about what YourMD is, what they do, and how you guys can reach them. I put their link down below in the description. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'll talk to you all very soon. Peace. So before we get started with our interview with Steffi here, I'm joined by Sean Kanungo from YourMD. Sean, what's going on, man?
Harry, I am so excited about this pod. I was looking at Steffi's website and all the recipes that she had. She's got like a garbanzo bean salad, CC bean salad. She also has this jackfruit pulled barbecue tacos. And I mentioned this before, but my dad bod is, it's incrementally growing. So getting some food that looks unbelievable, yet, appetizing and healthy. I mean, that's what I'm looking for. So I'm excited. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, I'm pumped, man. She's just, like I mentioned with Diana in the episode prior, she's just such a ray of sunshine. She's super positive. We get it really deep into like some of the things she's gone through in her life. It's incredible that she has such a positive outlook on life, and it's really inspiring. Additionally to the really good food, if you scroll through her Instagram, man, I have to go get a snack every time. My stomach's going nuts every time I go through her Instagram, I swear.
That's amazing. Well, in addition to that, and of course I'm excited about the pod, I want to mention to everybody that I'm from a digital health startup here in Canada. We are connecting individuals to unbelievable physicians across Canada. And what we do is we, through a telemedicine platform, you don't have to go to a doctor's office. We basically connect you with a physician. We're starting with hair loss. So if you're a guy and your hair is thinning, we can connect you with physicians. They can get the prescribed drugs to you at your doorstep. It's unbelievable. We are disrupting the healthcare space. And most importantly, really excited about sponsoring this pod because I believe what you are doing is having some really great conversations on mental health and beyond. And, we want to be supporting Canadians and beyond. I mean, this is global. So really excited about this pod. And yeah, let's get to it, Harry.
Let's get to it, man. I'll put yourmd.ca in the link down below. Please, everybody go check that out and enjoy this episode. I'm Harry Potvin, and this is the H Panel. We are live. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so nice to connect with you.
Yeah, before I get too into it, I wanted to get to know you a little better. So, what kind of got you to become the superfood goddess?
Great question. So I did start my health journey because of mental health. I was in college about 14 years ago, and we found out that my brother had a mental disorder, and it was kind of like an emergency attack. Like, anytime something happens where it's emergency status, you go online, you Google, you start talking to professionals, doctors, anyone, just seeing like what you can do to fix the situation. And we had found that he had bipolar and schizophrenia disorder. And yeah, I mean, we didn't know anything about that. And this is 14 years ago. I'm so thankful for the mental health movement and where it's come to this point, because I feel like we're talking about it more. We still have so much work to do, but at the time, like, it was this very taboo thing for us. We didn't know what this was and how to deal with it. And so we searched and searched and read books, and this book came into my lap. Called Skinny Bitch. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's a book on it's a book on going vegan. And they make light of it. Like, they're not like in your face about it, because that sometimes that happens, and I get it. I get the passion behind the people that are like, stop eating meat. And I mean, of course, that's me too, but like on a lighter scale, because I think because I understand mental health a little bit, and you can't just, go around telling everyone like this is what you have to do. And what really resonated for me in that book was the association between the energy of the animal that was being killed, and us ingesting and eating that animal. And to some people, maybe that sounds a little like hippie woo woo, or off the deep end, but it just made sense to me. Like, there's energy around us. We are energy. Science talks about energy in our cells. So it made sense to me that if you're eating an animal that has been taken away from its mom, whether it's been abused or not, even just the fact of being taken away from its mom, it's going to be sad, it's going to be depressed. Same thing with the mom. And so ingesting these animals that die with fear or sadness or depression, to me, made sense. So I was like, well, what if we do a 3-month vegan challenge? Like, let's just do 3 months, see if we can clean up our diets and our lives. Let's see if it works mentally for my brother. So my mom, my brother, and I, we all did a 3-month vegan challenge, which I'm sure you can probably guess, I never went back. Like, after 3 months, I realized I felt better. I realized my mindset was starting to shift, my energy levels, I was sleeping better. And I thought, okay, there's something going on here. I didn't quite know what it was, but I knew something was working. And I stayed path. I kept eating vegan and plant-based foods, and it was really hard in the beginning. I didn't know what I was doing. I was reading so many nutrition labels, trying to figure out, what's the ingredients and products, what am I allowed to eat, am I getting enough protein? That's like always the first thing you hear is, are you getting enough protein, are you getting enough calcium? And so I was like, oh my gosh, I have to get all these things in my life. And so as that journey went on, I mean, as the years went on, I started cooking more, I started reading more. I always recommend to people that you shouldn't just blindly, I mean, okay, sometimes you can do things blindly, but I mean, if you really want something to work, you got to research it, you've got to talk to people, and you got to figure out the best way or the best plan of attack. And so I did a lot of reading. I got really good at understanding nutrition, because I was so freaked out by everyone saying, like, you're going to die if you're vegan, you're not going to get enough nutrients. Like, I was allowing that fear to live in my life. So I got really knowledgeable, and I got so knowledgeable that people started asking me questions when they were sick, or Stephanie, I've got this going on. How do you fix that with nutrition, or how do you get healthier from that? And that's when I realized, ah, I can help people with their diets, with their energy, with their clarity. I can help them move away from feeling sick, from feeling down. Um, I know I was put on earth to be a servant. I was put on earth to help others, and so I started thinking, well, maybe this is what I was supposed to do. Maybe I was put on earth to help people feel better, feel well, and I didn't quite understand that I was going to go into the direction of because I talk about mental health a lot, and I didn't realize I was going to go in that direction quite yet. But as I went on my journey, I realized I was feeling better, and I was on depression and anxiety medication at the time, like pretty heavy doses. And I thought, well, my doctor told me that I'm never going to be able to get off medication. So is that even an option? And I thought, well, I'll go ask. In life, I think it's always worth asking, and it's always worth asking a couple times, until you get the answer you want, or until you really figure out, okay, this is the final answer. I decided to get off my depression and anxiety medication, which the first doctor said no. So stubborn me, I went to a second doctor. But I think that's, again, like, if you were diagnosed with cancer, you'd go to a second doctor to get a second opinion, maybe an expert or something. And so I always say getting a second opinion is wonderful. And in this case it was, because this other doctor said, you can slowly wean off your medication, and let's see what happens. Worst comes to worst, you don't feel better, and we put you back on medication. And to me, that sounded like a good plan. And so I got off the medication. That was maybe 8 years ago. Um, do I still struggle with depression and anxiety? Absolutely. Those still come into my life at various times and reasons. But do I classify myself as a depressed person, or it being so bad that I need medication? No, I don't right now. And nothing against anyone who is on it, because I think everyone that's taking care of themselves nutritionally or with medication, what's best for your body. But I realized that I felt better eating better and living a more holistic life, checking in with my relationships, checking in with my mindset, the way that I speak, just so many different things. And so the Superfood Goddess, it basically started out of an opportunity to check our mental health 14 years ago. And it's gone more and more into my health coaching, and I health coach people now. And even with that, like um I I've noticed that food is personal and it's emotional. And I have a lot of clients, and I have even a lot of friends I've talked to about this, and myself included. A lot of people emotionally eat. A lot of people associate uh, anger, depression, excitement with food. Like when you're happy, when you're excited, you're you're celebrating, and you might have some wine, or you might have some cake or a cookie because you're excited. You might feel down, and you just eating that tub of ice cream. Like, it's very emotional. And so I've realized that there's not that there's a disconnect in the nutrition community, but I realize that there's another aspect of food and nutrition and mental health, and it's bridging that gap of, why are we eating, and what are we thinking when we eat, and what are we thinking just in general in our lives, um, and to try to feel better and to feel well. And so I add that aspect into my health coaching as well. I think it's a really important one, and especially in the last year now, just adding that in. It's almost like we have shifted, and we talk more about how my clients are doing as opposed to what they're eating, because there's just so much going on, and there's not a lot of people talking about it, and there's not a lot of space for that, and I want to hold that space. So the Superfood Goddess basically came out of wanting to help people, realizing I was on a mental health journey, realized that I had gotten out of the medication, and with superfoods, there's so many amazing plants in the world. Plants are so healing. I just took an herbal class with herbs, and they are potent. You can even overdose on certain on certain plants because they're so healing. So yeah, so that's these superfoods are, it's just like, what's the most superfood I can eat? I mean, kale's a superfood, avocado is a superfood. It's because they have many different nutrients all in one. And that's how I want to fuel my body nutritionally.
Amazing. What I love about that is, like you've said, when you start off and things like that, it can get so overwhelming because there's so many options, and it's so easy to go off the wrong or go into the wrong path, not on purpose, but like just reading the wrong article or listening to someone who doesn't know much. So it's important to have people like you who can guide these people who are willing to learn but might be being led in the wrong direction.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that because again, going back to just having a second opinion. Just because I say something also doesn't mean that you have to 100% believe it. Let what I say spark an interest and then go research it or go talk to other professionals kind of in the same area and see what their answer is. And that's kind of how I do it. Like I pick and choose. I usually have two or three options, or two or three people I'll go to about something, and then I'll see, I'll hear their answers. I'll feel how it feels in my body and how I think about it, and then I'll go, okay, this is my thought process around that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, completely. I on the topic of antidepressants, I was on them as well.
Hmm.
My mistake was that I was in such a desperate position where when the doctor offered me one, I didn't research it. I was just like, yeah, give me, because I thought it would be a happy pill that would be like, I'm cured, I'm done. Um, and then I went through like the worst period ever. Like I looked ill. I had like heart, I palpitation. I don't even know. And then it felt like my brain had flatlined, which was like really scary because I had no emotion or reaction to anything. And my friends thought,
Oh,
yeah, my friends thought I was gonna die because I would go to swim practice. And I say this every episode. I always slip it in. I was on a swim team. I was captain of the varsity swim team at my university. But I would go to practice and my heart would just get to a point where they'd have to drag me out of the pool and I'd have to lie down because like it was just going way too hard. And
wow.
yeah, and so people were like, maybe you should, tell your doctor. And I was like, but these pills have to work. She prescribed them to me. They must work, or else I'm screwed. And then I went to her and she was like, no, they don't have to. You could just let me know. And I was like, oh, I wish someone had told me that. So it's important to trial and error because I know a lot of people who get discouraged when one option doesn't work.
Such a great point. And I don't always get to dive into this with people. Um, I had a journey with starting my medication as well. I started on Prozac, which I think was a very common thing back then, and I think maybe it still is now. Um, no, same thing. I wasn't told, like, if it wasn't working, we could try something else, or or to give feedback on it. Just let's schedule another appointment and we'll check in. After, I want to say, after like 2 or 3 weeks, I felt the same exact way as you did. I felt very like no emotion. And I, growing up, and maybe we'll get into this later, growing up, I masked a lot of my depression and anxiety with a smile and like a really high energy upbeat, like no one had any idea I had any childhood trauma. Like I was just the nice smiley quiet girl that came from a home with 2.5 children, white picket fence, like everyone just thought it was like this perfect life. And so I started feeling that facade. I couldn't even get to that place. Like I was very unemotional. And I went into a deeper depression. I did start thinking very dark thoughts. And that's where I started telling my roommate, and like, I don't feel good. I feel really bad. And so I told my doctor, and she said, oh, let's get you off the medication. Let's put you on a different one. So she got me on Wellbutrin, and that worked for me. That I remember this moment, and I don't know if you had this with medication at all, but I had this moment where I do remember thinking, I feel like myself again.
Mm,
Medication does work. I will say that. As much as I'm holistic, and I do, anytime I have a symptom or, something takes place in my body, I go to, have I drank water? Have I had a meal? What herbs can work for this moment or this symptom? But I do know that Western medication was made for a reason. Do we overprescribe? Absolutely. But I do understand that medication works, and if that's what people need, even if it is just for a little season, a little time and place, that's okay. And I've actually talked to doctors about that. Because again, we can probably get into this too, but I lost my brother 17 months ago, and it was very sudden, and I considered going on medication during that time because I was just like, I, 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 I was all over the place. I wasn't doing good. Luckily, I had been through so much healing and so many things to get myself to where I am today that I was able to do without the medication, but it was a struggle and it was hard, but I did consider that. And so I always tell people, know your options, know where you can go, talk to as many people as you can so that you have everything, you've got plan A, B, and C so that like where to plan your attack when you need it.
Yeah, there's so many avenues in what you just said that I want to get into.
Yeah.
Let me try to get to all of them. The first part
Yeah.
is what that moment you were talking about when you were on antidepressants. You said, I feel like myself again. For me, it was kind of like that, but for me, it was, I feel like myself finally. Because I had
Mm,
been like, I had
mm.
no idea who I was. And granted, I'm still pretty young. So like that had something to do with it. I was growing up as a kid, but I also had like this side of me that was like, that's not who I am. Like I would black out and get angry and punch things and yell at people, say things I did not mean. And it was just that kind of slowly became my identity to some people. It was just this angry hothead who you had to walk on eggshells around. Like, but I knew that wasn't me. Like it was like in my head, I would get angry, I'd black out, but my brain would go, what are you doing, man? It was like that concerned friend for a guy. He'd be like, again, like, come on. But I didn't know how to act that out. It was just kind of like, oh, I let the anger take over. So when I got on the proper medication, it was like, finally, I feel like who I saw myself as being.
Yep. Yep. And I feel you on that. And to piggyback on that, I with medication and feeling better, again, talking about like being in a season, sometimes we need that medication to get us to where we need to be, right? Feeling like yourself again, feeling like yourself for the first time. I get you. It's taken me a very long time to understand who I am, what I want, what my purpose in life is. Like it's been a constant battle of figuring out who is Stephanie. And I think, we come into the world with a toolbox. The toolbox you hope is, has all the right tools, but sometimes as you go, you realize there's this thing you're doing at home and you've got to have another tool for it, right? And so there's like all these tools that you're adding into your toolbox. And so I think, it's some like, sorry, hold on one moment. Ruger, hey, hey. Sorry, my dog was just
That's okay. My
off.
dog's on the other side of the door, like scratching. I'm trying.
Oh,
Dogs, man.
by the way, that's such a mental health. That's so good for mental health, having a pup or a cat or some sort of animal to take care of.
So nice. Yeah.
But so we're given this toolbox, and sometimes there's some missing tools. And so I see even medication for me, what it was for me is it was a crutch during a point in my life where I didn't have the correct tools to have the mindset to try to move forward, to try to move through anger, to try to move through depression and sadness. And again, I'm not saying anyone's, weak or strong or whatever for doing whatever they did on their journey, but that's just what I figured in my life. Like I started going to yoga more. It was something that had been introduced to me, and I knew it was a healthy, grounded, feel good body movement. I started doing that. I started checking out what's this meditation stuff. I started going to seminars, like self-help seminars, where I could get a better mindset, and mindset, the way that you speak to yourself, the way that you think in your mind about yourself and about other things, it's a huge thing. The human mind is so powerful, and so really fighting through mental health is a real thing, and I do still fight through it daily. Going, having that anger, having that depression, and saying, okay, I have to sit down and like really be present. And this is not something anyone taught me. I had to learn this. So of course I had, I didn't understand how to deal with the depression back then. And yeah, just, being present with it. Like, where is this coming from? Is this worry coming from something real? Or is it really something that's taking place in my life right now? Because, we can go off on a tangent in our minds of just worrying about stuff. And that's ingrained in our lives or into our DNA. Back in the caveman days, we saw a saber-toothed tiger and ran, like that's where anxiety and that like that fight or flight comes from, is like we had to move, and that body, that adrenaline kicks in and you go. We don't have that taking place like as bad now. I mean, sure, yes, there's still like things that take place where you have to get your body like moving quickly, but our body still reacts in that way. And so not being able to understand what's going on in your body can be really overwhelming and confusing, and can lead you into a really dark tunnel, like I was for a very long time.
That's why I like that's a lot more people are speaking out now and like teaching kids and younger people like how to deal with it, or like how to acknowledge that it's happening, because I was the same way. I had no role models. The only role models I had, and that, I'm not taking a shot at my dad and parents or anything. Like they were great. I just mean like in this situation, but like I would on my swim team when I was like the younger kid looking up to the older kids, the only way the big guys would react to being upset or like having a bad race or something, they'd go into the locker room and just punch the crap out of the lockers and like scream and swear. And I looked up to them, and this was when I was developing as a child. I was like, that's how you react when you're sad. I get it now. And then eventually you grow up and you get that sad feeling. You're like, oh, I remember what to do, and you start punching the crap out of things, and then it's just a deadly cycle to get into. So I'm glad people are opening up and teaching kids like when you feel that way, there are ways to handle it properly other than slicing your hand open when you punch a garbage can. Like that's probably not the best idea.
It feels good in the moment, I'm sure, but you're right, it's not. And then people are looking at you and they're like, what's going, I mean, not like you, because you actually thought this is a normal response, but people on older people are probably like, what is going on with this person, right?
Well, it feels good for maybe zero point 0.3 of a second, and then you look down and your hand is like bruised and bloody, and you're like, what? That didn't solve anything. I'm more angry now.
Totally. Oh yeah, that's a spiral too. You go down and more angry or more depressed. It's just this downward spiral.
Man, yeah, the spirals I've been on, I could write a freaking novel or make a movie about. There's been so many. And then you look back now and you're like, who is that guy? Who invited that guy?
Absolutely.
I don't want to hear.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh man. So you mentioned briefly about your brother, and
Mhm.
if you want to get into that, I'd love to.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll preface this with, in no way like am I happy or excited that I lost my brother, but it was, you have to pull what you can from a really terrible situation. That's what I've learned with my trauma response as a child and as an adult. You have to pivot, you have to shift, and this really terrible thing happened. My brother, he suffered from mental health, and every couple of years like a stressful situation would take place, and he would have an episode or a couple episodes which would land him in the psych ward, which was also very stressful and anxiety ridden, and brought on depression for me, because I saw this person just really holding so much hurt, and rightfully so. He was abused as a child for years. I was verbally abused, but I was only physically abused once or twice. He was constantly physically abused, by my stepfather, and it was really really hard to watch. I can only imagine that is why he later in life had these symptoms of mental health issues. And so it was hard to watch him harbor these emotions, because I knew those emotions to a certain extent. and I always wondered, why did I spiral up? How did I cut that process and move forward and him not? And there's some guilt around that. But so, every couple of years we'd have some issues, and we'd have to take care of it and help him through the process. And that was hurtful too, because he thought my mom and I were against him. A lot of the times, or thought like we were trying to hurt him, when all we wanted to do was love him and help him and get him to a better place. And this last time, he was in a really bad place. He couldn't find. We were trying to get him into a home, which is really frustrating. I don't know if you've ever uh, heard of anyone else's experience or dealt with it yourself, but there's not a lot of. Maybe Canada's different too, but in the US, there's not a lot of options. Like, I even tried to look for homes for him to live in because it was getting too toxic between him and my mom. Just them consistently fighting, and just it wasn't good. And so I said, maybe he can go to a home, maybe he can be taken care of by professionals that don't have an emotional connection, or aren't going to take things personal. And so we were looking, and like, gosh, I mean, I found homes, sure. Like, there were a couple for like 35 to 65,000 a month. Like, that's insane. Like, what are you, I don't even know what you're charging for. And I don't want to diminish, medical and whatnot, but it was such an eye-opening experience to me to find out that there's not a lot of options for mental health and for people suffering. And so he was struggling because he was homeless, and he was living in his car for the last year before he left us. And um he ended up in a psych ward. And then when he got out, um he this is kind of a, well, yeah, so he was in a psych ward. And um he was being watched, and they were, uh I mean, yeah, he was being watched. You would think he's with professionals and everything's okay. And we're still trying to kind of figure out the story, to be honest. It's not quite done, but he choked on a sandwich. Like, he literally choked on a sandwich in custody of professionals, and uh died. And we heard the next day. It's so crazy how the universe makes things happen in your life too, or can, or just how everything kind of aligned. I was living in Southern California at the time, and I was coming to visit my mom for like 6 hours before, on my way to go see my godson, who lives 3 hours away. And so I was like, oh, I'll have breakfast with her, we'll go work out. She calls me 5 minutes before I'm over, and she's like, you need to get here now. And I was like, what is going on? I should get there, and there's investigators there letting us know that my brother's not with us anymore. And it was just it was this moment of like, huh? What? Like, you're confronted with your life. Like, it's like your life like flies in front of you. Like, you're like, this is a bad dream. When am I going to wake up? It was this whole process. And I'm so thankful. This is where things come full circle. I was resentful for the longest time about my childhood traumas and what had taken place in my family. And then I went on this journey of healing myself, and finding different modalities of how I can feel more fit mentally. And I was now, it all came full circle. And I was at this point where I had to decide what I was going to do from here on out, how I was going to treat this situation. It would be very easy to just spiral down and to be in a state of depression, and to feel helpless and not understand where I was going to go from here, what I would be doing. And I just, that strong mind that I had been working out for years and years and years, it kicked in, and it was like, okay, I know I can't eat right now. Like, I feel so full. I, like, not full in a good way. Like, I feel like I'm blocked up. Like, food did not sound good to me, but I knew I needed to eat. I needed nutrients. And so I immediately, like, just out of response, I went and I made my mom a green juice. And I was like, we need to at least be getting nutrients in our bodies, because it's very easy to, like, food is like, again, it's emotional. And if you're not feeling good, there's also times where you're not eating and you're restricting. Um, and I really had to, like, I had to ground myself and figure out what was going on. Obviously, I thought about everything. I allowed everything to set in. And I tell people that, it's not about just trying to find the positive in everything. Like, you're human, you have emotion. You have to sit with this emotion. We'd we'd be a robot if we didn't feel depression or anxiety or worry. It's just, how long are you going to sit there? And I had to have that conversation with myself and try to decide, how long am I going to sit within this depression, and how long, until I try to get myself out of it. And so for the first 5 or 7 days, I just let my feelings go. Like, I tried to incorporate whatever I could, like breathing. When I knew breath work really helps, so anytime I was getting that like anxiety, I would try to breathe a lot, or even like tapping. That's something I've learned in therapy. Like, tapping different areas of your body can help you be present and kind of step out of that anxiety space in your mind. um and so it's been a very interesting process. And do I have bad days? Do I think about my brother and completely lose it? Absolutely. And it's still so painful to me, but I have a different toolbox with me. And so I can, as I find myself spiraling into that fear, depression, thinking about death, thinking about my brother not being in here anymore, even just thinking of the coulda, woulda, shoulda, like what I could have done to stop it, or anything like that. Um, I stop myself. I allow myself a little bit, like I said, I allow myself to feel, but I stop myself and I go, okay, how realistic is this? And sure, I could sit here and just spiral down from this amazingly terrible trauma, or I can try to be present through it, feel it, and try to figure out a message out of it, and move forward. And I always say, like, your mess is your message. Again, for the longest time, I was so mad, I was so resentful that I had all this stuff take place in my life, and now I realize all these things took place to get me ready and prepared for what happened 17 months ago. I mean, I don't know that you can ever be prepared to lose someone, especially that soon. He was 30, so that soon and unexpectedly. Like, you can't prepare for it, but I at least felt mentally strong enough to know that I could pull through this. I don't know the timeline, and I still say that I feel like I'm in grief. And I've talked to a lot of people, and sometimes it's 2 years, sometimes it's 7 years. It doesn't ever actually go away, I hear a lot of the times, but it subsides a little bit more and a little bit more. And so I think just that light at the end of the tunnel, I see it, I know it's there, and I'm just walking towards it. And I think that in life, that's something that we have to remember is, things are hard. They really are. Life is hard. This last year has been really hard. And just knowing that, just like fog eventually evaporates, right? And the sun comes out. I can't tell you how long it's going to be there. But there's always a sun or a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think if we can hold on to that and just walk through it, even if you're just walking, broken and crying towards the light, you're still moving forward. Baby steps, half steps, quarter steps, like anything, just moving forward and trying to find that message in it, that some sort of just anything to work through it. We do not. Oh my gosh, I shame myself all the time for not taking wide strides, and this trauma and grief process in the last 17 months for me really has been a huge eye opener of celebrating the little wins, even if they feel like a half a win. It's a win. You're doing way better than where you were when you were stagnant. You took one tiny little step forward. Heck yes. Yes.
Hmm. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's I loved what you said when you said you kind of let yourself acknowledge your emotions, because I know people who have experienced like the loss of a family member or just grief in general who kind of just shrug it off and they go, I'm fine. I don't want to show this to even, I don't even want to acknowledge that it happened. I just want to keep going. And then you see them self destruct like months, years later, just because it's been boiling inside. It's like that kettle pot on the stove. You got to take it off.
That was me for a really, really long time. I didn't confront things. I ran away from things. I again, I feel like just wasn't equipped to confront. So I just thought, put that smile on your face, and that never happened. That never happened. Move forward. I didn't realize facing it might actually, I don't know that it would go away, but at least it would like you could, compartmentalize it in some way, and then like, okay, that happened. That sucked. Let's move forward. Like acknowledging that you're going through something that's huge.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. So, because
Hmm.
obviously our stories are different, but I can kind of relate in the sense where I also had to put a mask on because I never wanted to acknowledge that I was the way I was mentally, because the people in my school or the people around me who did experience things like that, they kind of got ostracized. Did I say that
Yeah.
right? Well,
Yeah, yeah.
it's like the third time I've messed that word up on this podcast.
No, not at all.
But they kind of just got like kicked out and isolated and kind of pointed at as the weirdo. I know in swimming, if someone had a mental episode or if someone like opened up about struggling, they kind of were viewed as a less legitimate contender or competitor. They weren't really considered an athlete. So for me, it was always to put a mask on. And whenever I had those thoughts of, wanting to die or hating myself, I kind of put that energy towards making my friends laugh or kind of making my family feel good, because I was like, as long as they're fine, I should be, because my life is good.
Mm,
And then eventually those distractions left, and it made you realize I didn't work on myself for like over a decade, and it's coming back to bite me in the ass. So what I wanted to ask is like, where did your idea of keeping a smile on and moving forward, where did that start for you?
such a great question. I don't know if I can pinpoint anything, but I remember so my mom was remarried twice. My dad is an alcoholic, and he was in and out of my life for most of my life, and then he disappeared for many years, and he would do that for years at a time too. But I think after my mom got divorced when we were about 4 and a half, I think I just, as children, we're so intuitive, and I don't think we give ourselves credit enough as children, what we how our experiences and how we experience things and what people say to us. And I think around 4 and a half, I understood in some way. I don't know if I understood, but I understood in my gut that something different was going on. And I saw what my mom was going through as a single mom. And I think around 6 years old, there was this moment. I just had this like click moment. And I remember this so vividly, where I thought, I'm not going to be the problem anymore. I don't know what that means, but like, I think I was a little rowdy as a child. Like I would like my mom was really strict, and sometimes I'd come home from a friend's house and like their mom was like, well, she kind of spoke up about this, and like, I don't know, I just acted out weird. And I just remember thinking, I don't want to be the problem anymore at 6 years old. Like it was my birthday, and I'm going to be an adult. I'm going to be there for my mom. I'm going to be there for my brother. And I all of a sudden, as an adult, I thought, you handle things like, this didn't happen, and everything's fine. And so I think that's where I started finding that, I don't know what you want to call it, but that, that essence of moving forward no matter what. And then I used school, like oh my gosh, like I never wanted to leave school because I didn't want to go home, especially once my mom remarried, because I didn't want to be home with my stepdad. I was scared of him. I saw what he did to my brother, and I heard the things he said to me that were really abusive. And so I would go to school, and I was like, if I show up and I'm perfect and I don't cause issues and I get straight A's and I do all the right things, they're not going to send me home. They're not going to talk to my parents. Like, I'm going to be safe here. And so school became a very safe place for me, and I didn't want to mess that up. And so I think that's where I just turned into this, like, everything's fine. I'm gonna move forward through this. Yes, I was sweeping everything under the rug. But that's, I think, yeah, at a really young age, I just decided I had to move forward. That was my survivor was response, not my warrior response, quite to say, but like that was my survivor thing was I have to get through this. I have to prove to everyone that I'm okay so that I can maybe weirdly prove to myself that I'm okay.
Hmm. And what was the moment where you realized that wasn't going to work anymore?
Um I was so deep and dark. I was around 19 years old, 18 or 19 years old, and I just realized that things weren't working in my life, and I was starting to take Vicodin, and I was drinking a lot. There was like a 2-month period where like I almost every day I was waking up in my bed after blacking out the night before because I was trying to deal with what was going on in, I mean, I think a lot of times that ends up being a normal response for people, like again, like we don't have the tools to just like sit down and meditate. And so I found out about Vicodin making you feel kind of airy and light. And I was like, I want to feel that because I don't feel that on the inside. And um and yeah, and so then I got him. I thank God. No one told me that a mentor could help or having a coach could help. And I just had a mentor kind of come in my life and knock me on the head. Thank God. I always say that because I don't know that I would have reached out to anyone. I was so broken. I wasn't going to reach out to anyone. There's no way because, again, like you said, people get ostracized. They're made fun of for being different, and I was already different. My mom's from Germany. I was already different enough. People made fun of me for other reasons. Like I didn't need anyone to know about this. And so I think once I got that mentor and we started talking, he introduced me to a group of girls that had all been through some really bad traumas. I mean, to the point where I was like, who am I to think I had trauma? Holy moly, like, whoa. And so the first time, and I actually think this is something that I align with you with, because on one of the videos I was watching of yours, like this made so much sense. Um, when I met this group of girls who had been through trauma, and we talked about our experience, we opened up. I finally realized I wasn't the only person on earth dealing with depression and panic attacks and anxiety. And that was the moment where I was like, wow, I I'm not alone. I can heal. There's other people. And that's where I started realizing, okay, I have to really work through this. I started going to see a therapist, and that's even with my therapist, I lied for like a year and a half. Like I told her all my issues, but I wasn't like really allowing it to set in. And she told me a year and a half in, she was like, I don't know you. You haven't broken down in front of me. You haven't told, I mean, yeah, sure, you told me you had daddy issues. Cool. Have we worked on it? No. Like you're lying to yourself. You're just walking around saying, I know all this stuff, but you're not working on it. And I immediately started crying. I was like, she just called me out so hard. Like I had to like think about that. Like she's right. Dang. Okay. And from then on, I ran forward. Like I didn't walk forward in my therapy. I ran forward. I was like, all right, there's this. How do we work through it? How do we peel the onion away? And at that moment, that's where I realized there's other people that need to hear. There's other people that need to talk about this. And if that's part of my servitude on earth, if that's part of who I am, that I'm here to open up and allow myself to be vulnerable, which is absolutely scary. But if I can be strong enough for that. If I went through what I did as a childhood or as a child, I'm strong, and I'm strong enough to face whatever is going to take place about being open with this. And I started, baby steps. It took me a very long time to be very open at this point, like how we're talking now. Like I wouldn't have been able to talk about this 10 years ago. I would have been shy and embarrassed and thought maybe, I was going to say the wrong thing. And at this point, I'm like, you can't say anything wrong about trauma, about depression, about mental health. It's all real, and you're not the only person going through it. And I want people to know they're not alone. And the more we talk about it, the more normal it can be. Whatever, what is normal, I don't know, but like the more it'll feel accepted And I want to feel accepted. I want you to feel accepted. I want everyone to feel accepted and to understand they have a place on earth.
Yeah. No. Who wants to be normal?
Right? I mean, I actually I like not being normal. I'm fine with that. Now that I understand that, it was very hard as a child. Like, why am I not like all the other kids?
Yeah. See, I was the same way because I was like, I'm like these kids, but I'm not. Like I wanted to be, but they were nowhere near as emotional as I was. Like I would cry in Disney movies. I'd like want to be that Prince Charming to a princess, and the boys were like, "Ugh, what are you like? Do you like boys?" I was like, "What? That's not even close to what that means." But like, yeah, and what people don't get, like everyone goes through some form of childhood trauma,
Yeah.
whether it be intense or not. But I think what people forget is just how much kids take in, because a lot of people, they go, "Oh, he's just a kid. He doesn't know shit." Like they're just like, he's not gonna remember this when he's older, and it's like maybe he won't. Maybe they won't remember the extent of it, but they're gonna remember how it felt. They're gonna remember how they were feeling in that moment, how everyone around them was reacting in that moment, and it's gonna carry with them like a heavy bag of luggage when you're going on vacation. That one bag where you're like, I want to get rid of this bag so much. My arm hurts. I don't want to carry it anymore. It just everyone has that bag of luggage, and it's just a matter of opening it and kicking some things out of it as you go along your journey.
Absolutely. So right. So right on. Yeah. And I appreciate you as a male, especially sharing your emotion and your heart and your struggle. And I'm not saying, like to say that women are any less, in their mental health journey, but I do know that we live in a culture where you have to be manly and don't show your emotion and don't talk about it. And I really appreciate those that are out there talking about their heart, talking about their struggle, being emotional, I mean, sure, no one wants to be around someone who's crying 24/7. That's hard, but like it's a reality. And and being able to even just touch in, to step into that and feel like, yeah, I'm sad and I'm going to cry right now. That's okay. And so I thank you so much for being open with talking to people about mental health. It's really important. And as a male, I think it's even more important because you're inspiring other other dudes who think they need to be like, oh, I don't have any issues. It's like we all do. We all go through things, and you can still be manly and talk about this stuff. Getting rid of that stigma and um, ending the stigma in general of mental health being something weird or wrong or whatever. It's you have your experience for a reason. It's valid, and you're worthy enough to talk about it and release it so that you can either move forward or inspire others or whatever it is, but just really moving forward.
And if you really truly believe that crying and showing emotion is like for girls, then channel your inner woman, dude. Just
Right?
do it.
Yeah.
No, we're getting to a point. It's better now. We're getting to a way better point. But yeah, like what you said, I remember being even like I the first time I opened up about everything was like September, October, November of 2019, and that was terrifying because in my friend groups and like my role models, no one did anything about it. And I was like, I don't want to be the first person. Like, it's so intimidating. But
Uh-huh.
I am seeing it better now, and I also appreciate, other men, and just not just men but people in general who open up about this stuff, because as a young boy I did not know where to go. Like I felt so lost, and I don't want to see that anymore, because like I remember how it felt like hollow, and it felt like you couldn't go anywhere and you couldn't get help. You just were going to die early. Like that was your fate. And it doesn't have to be that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There is a way out. There is a way through it. And you have to believe that. And it's hard to believe that at times. And I understand that. So I never want to diminish the fact that fighting through mental health um is hard. Like, it's hard. and it's a conscious effort, and it's a daily effort. And like I said, like I still, as the superfood goddess and as a coach who helps people nutritionally and hold space for people mentally too. I hold space for people. I have a 3-month coaching that's starting tomorrow, and it's called Holding Space, because I'm here to hold space for you. I'm going to teach you about nutrition, but I'm going to hold space for you mentally too. And I think that, yeah, and understanding, like, I think it's really easy for people to be like, you'll get over it, or you're going to work through this, no problem, you're strong. And it's like, yeah, I see where people come with those responses, especially if they've never been through something, or they haven't been through something of that extent. It's easy to kind of tell someone like, it's okay, cheer up, you're going to get through this. I get it. But that can be really hurtful or painful for someone that's struggling, because they're like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not getting up quicker than I should? And so I don't want to, I never want to diminish like it, how people feel. Like, your experience is your experience, and it's a fight. It's a real fight. And I do it still daily. I'm in my master's program, and it's hard. Oh my God. And it's so much science. And I wasn't a science person growing up, so I'm working double hard, I feel like. But it's because I'm passionate. I want to learn clinical nutrition so that I can help people even more, really figure out the gut and the mind. That axis, I mean, that is like, if your gut is mucked up with, bad food, fried food, sugar, you're going to feel that exact way in your brain. You're going to feel foggy. You're going to feel mucked up. You're not going to feel good. And so I want to get to the bottom of that so that I can say, if you eat this nutritionally, it can actually elevate your mood. Like, that's what I'm consistently doing. And that was part of my process too, with my brother dying. I went to raw food. And I know that can sound really extreme to people, and trauma does bring up extreme stuff, but I knew that I've done a raw diet before, and I know how good I feel when I eat raw food. It's like you get all the nutrients, all the vitamins from the food. You're not cooking anything off. And I went raw. I was juicing a lot because it was hard for me to eat. So juicing for sure, like green juices, was something that I really added into my life. And then raw food. And I was really only able to get down like 1 or 2 meals a day, but I went to like raw food, whole foods. I wasn't eating processed foods. And this went on for a good couple months, because I thought, at this point, I knew my brain is so delicate right now. If I were to drink, I don't even want to have, alcohol is a depressant. I'm not saying you can't drink alcohol, but I'm just saying, if you know that you've got mental health issues, check it out. And so I immediately was like, I don't want to drink and wake up the next day hungover or feeling worse. So I cut out alcohol. I upped my water. I juiced, and I went straight into to raw food. And that was what helped me mentally, fight through that too. And so I think it's really important to have different tools as you fight. And yeah, and so, like, with my clinical nutrition, I've been really stressed, and there's times where I've felt low, or I felt maybe FOMO, or like I couldn't do something that other people, even if it was just like a Zoom call, people were getting on for someone's birthday, or just like a hangout on a Friday, and I was like, I've homework, and like that can, like, that gets me low sometimes. I love connecting with people, and just understanding, like, okay, I'm feeling a certain way. Where is this feeling sitting inside of me? Am I carrying it in my gut? Am I carrying it on my shoulders? Is this something that I can kind of coach myself through and say, it's okay, next time you'll get on the call, or next time you'll be able to do this, it's fine, like you're just in a season right now, you'll be done in a year and 3 months. Not that I'm counting, but you know what I mean, like, just like understanding again that there's that light at the end of the tunnel while I'm working through my own stress or anxiety or depression.
Great advice. And I know you have to get out of here pretty quickly. So I just want to end with this. So first off, I appreciate the heck out of you, Stephanie. Thank you for coming on and sharing all those stories. It's been great to connect with you.
Absolutely, you too. And I'm so happy to share my story. I really do. Like I said, I look at it as my mess is my message. What I went through, in hopes that if I can help one person, I have done my job on earth. I mean, I want to help a million people, but I'm just saying, like, if I can, that's my strive every day. If I can help one person a day, I feel like I'm doing my job, or even just one person in life. If I reach one person, I'm so stoked. And so I appreciate you allowing me to share. Again, I appreciate you sharing. And if there's any way I can continue to ever support you or your community, or down the line we talk again, like, I'm always open to talk about mental health, especially right now. We need it.
Yeah, amazing. I was just going to say I could talk for hours. I have so many points I want to cover, so you'll definitely be back on again, as long as
I love
you're
that.
not sick of me yet.
No, not at all. No, like, I mean, I honestly, I'm bummed that I have to get off. But school calls,
Mm,
but I have a tutor today. But yeah, I mean, please, like, even take a couple notes, or jot a couple things down that you have questions about. I'm more than happy to continue to dive deeper next time.
amazing. Where can my viewers find you right before you go?
Yeah. My biggest presence is on Instagram. So anyone can find me on Instagram, DM me, or email me at. So I'm on this. I'm the Superfood Goddess on Instagram, and I'm the Superfood Goddess across the board. www.thesuperfoodgoddess.com, thesuperfoodgoddess@gmail.com. I'm happy to connect in any way, shape, or form with anyone, because I know the struggle is real. I love hearing people's stories, and getting open and vulnerable, and I just want other people to feel that connection and not feel alone.
100%. And I'll put all those links down below. To all my viewers, I will see you guys next time. Hey guys, thanks for watching another episode of my show. If you want more episodes of the H Panel, the button's going to be right here. If you want to subscribe for more videos from myself, it'll be right down below. Please like, comment, share, give 5 stars. Let's keep this conversation going, guys, all right? I'll see you next time. Thank you for your support.